Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Wednesday, November 7th, 2018 at 14:47 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, the day after Election Day. God bless us, everyone. Even though I awakened a couple times last night, I decided to not get up and look at the results until this morning, which is just as well. I mean, pretty much what I expected, actually. And actually not nearly as bad as a lot of people had feared if you were rooting for the Republican side, which I know a lot of people were not. I know most of the news media were not. In Ohio, the egregious Mike DeWine won. That hateful, horrible, hateful, authoritarian man won. John Husted is his lieutenant governor, and I would have gladly voted for him, but no. DeWine won. The Libertarian got a little over 2% of the vote. I voted for the Libertarian. Troy Balderson, our current congressman here in the 12th District, won re-election by a slightly larger margin than he got elected back in August at the special election. But it was still, not larger than about a 2,000 vote margin. We'll see what happened. They redrew the district a couple of years ago, either 4 years ago or 2 years ago. Anyway, they included a lot more of northern Columbus in it than they used to have in it. That right there, it's inner city nonsense. And we go all the way out to Zanesville now. And Zanesville is a very nice town, but there's inevitably in any sizable Ohio city you have a fairly efficient Democratic machine to get people out to vote. So, in any case, he's in for another 2 years for what it's worth, for his sins. And then statewide offices, the rest of the Republicans won, except for the Senate, which nobody expected. Jim Renacci was clearly the sacrificial lamb in the Senate election this time against Sherrod Brown. I mean, Sherrod Brown is very popular in Ohio and always has been. And rightfully so. I mean, he does a lot for Ohio in the Senate. He really does. I mean, if it weren't for his anti-gun stance, I'd vote for Sherrod Brown. Oh, yeah. Working people, he's top rate on a lot of that stuff, but except for his gun ad, he's lockstep with all the gun confiscators, and that I can't vote for that. Let's see, countywide, I have actually, locally, the state house and the state senate, my guys won. One of the guys goes to my church. We have term limits. They can only serve like 3 terms in the House, and then they have to do something else. And the state Senate is like 2 terms, so that's like 8 years. So there's a lot of trading back and forth and shifting, and which the lobbyists just hate that because they can't develop. Well, I can't develop a relationship with a legislator. Like my neighbor who used to run the Department of Liquor Control under the Celeste administration. He says, we knew when we stood with the legislature, we'd go out and he said, I'd go out and have dinner with Vern. That was Vern Rife, the Speaker of the House. We knew where we stood. So these term limits really kill that. Of course, he's not doing that anymore, so I'm not talking out of school. Yeah, so, and then of course, now, as far as the governor, actually, I'm surprised the Democrats lost Indiana, North Dakota rather, and the Missouri Senate seats. Yeah, I mean, that Heitkamp woman I had no problem with her particularly. This Donnelly guy from Indiana, I had no real problem with him either. I didn't like the Claire. I never have liked Claire McCaskill, so I'm just glad to see the backside of her. But don't let the door hit you on the way out, Claire. But I'm surprised at that, and I'm glad Joe Manchin won re-election down in West Virginia. I really like Joe Manchin. Yeah, he rolls over for some of the Chuck Schumer idiocies, but he's another good guy. He's kind of like the Sherrod Brown of West Virginia. Oh, except he's pro-gun. So that's my breakdown of the elections. Can't get too head up either way. Now, what I can sort of remark on is, and this is the first time I've done this in over I haven't, Trump's been president now since January 20th, 2017. I have not looked at or listened to one single press conference or statement or news report featuring him on the air saying anything. I've purposely not watched him or watched the news. I refuse to spend my life watching these intellectually dishonest so-called news reporters. Basically, I don't care if they don't like Trump. That doesn't bother me. I don't like the man personally at all. I find his style boorish and egregious. But I do like his policies, except for the immigration stuff. I think he's hateful about that. But aside from that, I don't really have too much of a problem with the guy. And what I have a problem with people that don't like Trump in the press is they are just intellectually dishonest. They selectively report. Now, admittedly, you can't report everything. I know that. The human mind won't admit to that. But they selectively, consciously report only that which is favorable to the point of view or the impression they wish to leave. That is intellectual dishonesty. In some circles, we call that lying. I tend to fall into the lying camp. And then farther circles, they call it fake news. Well, I mean, I don't have any, it doesn't bother, I don't go out there. I find that that's a clever term, but what it fails to convey is the sheer egregiousness of intellectual dishonesty that exists in the current news media. Here with some examples from today's news conference. This, if the reporters had behaved toward Lyndon Johnson, or even John F. Kennedy, or Richard Nixon, I don't know, maybe even old affable Bill Clinton would have not been too damn happy with a lot of this stuff. Of course, they would never have treated Obama that way. It's like, but if they had treated Lyndon Johnson like they treated Donald Trump today, I think you would have only had about a third of the people left in the room after about 15 minutes and 12 questions. This was horrible. You wouldn't tolerate this kind of behavior in a junior high school debate team meeting. Nothing but ad hominem attacks, interruptions, rudenesses, personal vendettas, not to mention more intellectual dishonesty, i.e. lies couched as questions, over and over and over again. And You know, he needs to establish a no follow-up question policy, which of course they go hysterical over that. Ah, you're gagging the press. Ah. We got cut off. My QuickTime player didn't like me yelling at the screen. I will admit that I was sort of yelling at the screen, although that word is overused, when basically most of the time it should mean emphatic speech or discussion. It's like Piers Morgan wrote in a great piece for the Daily Mail about, you know, how he plans his day. He says, well, I get up, you know, and he does the usual workout bullshit, you know, and breakfast things, and then going for a run or whatever. He says, I sit in the TV studio for 2 hours, arguing and yelling with people. Then he says, I go back to my office and I spend 3 hours arguing online with abusive people, with emails and websites. Says, I have lunch. He says, I go back to the office for 2 hours of arguing online with people and emails who are being abusive to me. Well, that sounds like his whole day is like a Donald Trump press conference. You know, I'll tell you, this man is exceedingly patient. I was impressed. You know, this Jim Acosta, the CNN guy in particular, was just, I mean, he was completely out of line and over the top. And you could tell he was deliberately trying to get himself thrown out of there. He should have been. But then, of course, if he had been thrown out, it was like, you know, Trump gags the press, you know, throws CNN out of White House press conference, you know, and all. I mean, to see that. You just see this was pre-planned. You just knew that was what the guy was working toward. And you could almost see it flicker over Trump's face there for a moment, like, you know, I ought to really just unleash this guy. But no, he restrained himself. What they ought to do is just ban him from the press room, period. Just don't let him, just revoke his credentials to the White House. Well, CNN can find another asshole, but they'll have to find a different asshole they'll have to look for a new asshole, won't they? No, a lot of the press behave. You know, this follow-up question stuff, as I started to say, you should only get one bite of the apple, and you know, make that question so good that you know. All right, well, that's my little idea on that. You know, where I grew up, if you behave that way to somebody in public, particularly to another man, and well, Lord knows, let alone to his woman in public, like they treat President Trump. As I said, I'm not a fan of the guy's behavior, although I'll tell you, I found nothing to fault in his behavior today on this news conference. Not a single thing. Not a single thing. And even so, he's the president. I mean, you just don't behave like that to the president of the United States. You know, short of him, you know, sodomizing a dog or something in front of you, maybe. And even then, the Secret Service is going to pull you off him. I don't know. Maybe you suppose they'd pull him off the dog? I don't know. Woof! Well, so that was my little journey into civic responsibility today after voting yesterday. See, I informed myself of the results. I watched the president in action. Well, there we are, and so let the sideshow carry on for another 2 years here. Well, of course, and then we have in only 6 short months. Put this on your calendar. 6 short months from now, the campaign for 2020 is going to start, and the Democrats are going to start crawling all over each other in the primaries. Seems that Trump nailed down the Republican ticket here at this news conference. He turned and asked Mike Pence. He says, "You want to run with me next time?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "There we are. Okay, there's your news scoop." No, the dark nights of day and the dark nights of death are not going to descend on the gay community, the LGBTQIX, whatever community. Give me a break. All right, now on into the rest of this new 2-year election cycle. So I'll say bye-bye, YouTube.